Good Monday morning. We've got a guest with us this morning who will be formally introduced in a moment. It's his first time on daytime television, so he's a little bit nervous. We're getting him settled in. He's come out of the green room. He is ready to go. So coming up this week, tomorrow in the Eugene office, we've got a class with Colin Call and Karen Church. Actually, I think it's going to be more of like a debate discussion on using buyer broker contracts, to use them or not to use them. In fact, Jerry was so intrigued with that, I think we're going to try to reschedule that up at the north offices. So we'll let them warm up here in Eugene and then ship them up north. So again, that's tomorrow. On the QR codes, everybody should have had a chance to come to the classes now. We've had a couple classes in Eugene, Corvallis, Albany's had a class. So we should be up and going. If you've got questions about that or need a little bit of help, just give Scott Stieg a call at extension 1515. He is the QR code mobile website guru. We had a couple glitches with some people, but I think those are resolved and we're up and ready to go. Last announcement before we bring on our guest speaker is our underwear drive, which I spoke of a couple weeks ago, which is not what Todd is here to talk about, which I spoke about a couple weeks ago. I jumped the gun because we didn't have the official underwear bins, but apparently we have them now. They'll be in each office by tomorrow at noon. So CASA's collecting underwear. They need new underwear for all ages, especially, I guess, teenagers. They seem to get less clothes for, so we're helping them with CASA for that, kind of related to back to school. So that's coming up. So we have got Mr. Todd Zimmerman from Precision Funding here, and Todd has been in the mortgage industry for, I should have asked you that, 25 years?
Not quite. 22.
22 years. Nearly a quarter decade. And I know Todd is the guy, quarter century, excuse me. Math's never been my thing. Todd is our guy that kind of watches the bond market. All of our loan officers do, but he's the one that it seems like every morning he's standing downstairs watching that TV, watching what's going on with the bond market. So since we had the great credit downgrade over the weekend, the stock market is not doing so well, or at least it wasn't 15 minutes ago when I looked. It's down quite a bit today. But interest rates have also fallen, so I'm asking Todd to kind of give us why are interest rates falling? Are they going to continue to fall? Should we lock in? What's the stock market falling have to do with interest rate falling? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think primarily the first thing we ought to address is this is the first time that the United States has ever had their credit downgraded. In fact, we have never had a credit rating like this since 1917, so we've had a pretty good track record so far. And the one thing I want to add to that is the credit downgrade is much like the credit scores that we all hear about when we go to get a mortgage loan. There are actually three creditors out there that watch nations' economies and their credit. And so really we've only got one of the three that's downgraded. So far, Standard & Poor's is the only company that's downgraded the United States credit. So we're still in good shape. So usually in terms of what does that mean for the consumer? Well, if the credit's been downgraded, that you have to pay more for your loans, higher interest rates, higher costs. So it would be like going in and having two really, really great credit scores and one that would be off just a little bit. So I really think that this news that came about after close on Friday is really not anything that's going to affect the market too much in terms of interest rates. However, interest rates are moving down because obviously this is shaking the markets and people are moving out of the stock market to the safety of bonds, and that's just the natural progression of things.
So they're actually leaving the stock market because things are a little skittish, and they're going to bonds, which was the big crisis, or the big scare before this was going to be, oh my God, the bonds are going to go up because it's such shaky.
Yeah, it's what we call a flight to quality, and so typically when the stock market gets shaky and there's unrest in the markets, people will seek the safe haven of bonds, and so that will drive interest rates down. So I would say over the next 48, 72 hours, interest rates are going to be extremely good. However, I think that based on what I've read, this could be short-lived. Not that interest rates are going to stay at this level for long term. They may stay here for 3 weeks. They only may stay here for a day or two. So
when you say stay here, where are they right now this morning?
Interest rates are below 4.5 for a 30-year fixed rate conventional. Right, I mean, you could be at 4.5, you could be at 4.375. So rates are extremely good. What that means for the consumer is ultimately at 4.5 or 4.625, they could potentially do a loan for literally no cost. So it's a really good time in our market.
So when the stock market's tanking, traditionally that helps mortgage interest rates.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing that I get up in the morning for at 4 o'clock
Right.
to watch the opening.
Depends whether you want to refi or check your 401k.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's a
exactly.
good thing, yeah.
So it's kind of a good bad thing. Yeah, when the stock market is struggling, typically the bond market is doing well. So.
Okay. So your advice, what are you telling borrowers that have been on the fence about locking?
I would, if any of my borrowers ask for my advice on that, I would simply say we are in a time right now where it's unpredictable and we really can't guess on what things are going to do. Since rates are so low, I would tend to encourage my clients to lock or to get moving in that sale or that refi that they've been thinking about, because I really, rates can't stay this low for too long. So eventually they are going to go up. So if you're in an adjustable rate mortgage or an interest only mortgage, now is the time to get out of that. And most of the experts that I've read, maybe we call them talking heads, or talking, pay that debt off, refinance the house, get into a fixed rate, and just, consolidate that all.
Okay. And I think for realtors out there, the thing that this does provide that we haven't had for quite some time, I mean, we're always looking for reasons to get borrowers or buyers off the fence, whether it's a first-time buyer, whether it's a seller that wants to move up but they're unrealistic about their price to get it. Now we do have, interest rates have been in that 5.5 range, it seems like forever now. So now there is an incentive to do something now, like this week, if you're on the fence. So I would definitely get a hold of your borrowers, both your buyers, both your investors, first-time buyers, move-up buyers, and let them know what's going on. Because a lot of people that don't really follow this like we do in our industry may be thinking, because of course we heard last week when they were trying to negotiate the debt ceiling that interest rates were going to go through the roof and the world was going to end. Well, at least right now, the opposite's happened, so you've got to educate those buyers you've got out there. So thank you, Mr. Z. We'll hope you're right. We've got this recorded, so if you're not, we'll throw it back in your face next week. Sure birthdays this week. Sharon Davis has a birthday Tuesday, tomorrow up in Corvallis. Dennis Pease Friday. And Mariska Plabin from Precision Funding. She's the mystery person that works from home, does our compliance and all that good stuff. She's got a birthday coming up this week as well. So that's what we've got this week. Thanks, Todd, for coming in. We appreciate it. We'll see you next Monday.